the streak of 10 straight home wins in Audi Field, a perfect 3-0 franchise mark against St. Louis, and the right to cement ourselves as the greatest fan base in spring football history. It's the Defenders and the Battlehawks. DC, a 3-point home dog. Total is our highest of the weekend at 47. Forecast for the district on Sunday is 85 and partly cloudy with a chance of one big-ass beer snake. I'll see you there. Let's start with the DC offense. How are they going to score on this St. Louis defense? Well, everybody wants to act like DC was so lucky and so fortunate to be in this game with Birmingham last week because the Stallions fumbled twice inside the 5. Oh, they made all these mistakes. That is not the case. DC fumbled on their first possession, too. They sat through a 90-minute rain delay in an opposing locker room. Then they come out in driving rains and they got a punt. Snap goes into the end zone for a safety. So excuse me if I'm not going to entertain the fact that, oh, DC got all these breaks. The Stallions got plenty of them as well in this game. They were in the game because of Jordan Ta'amu and his will to win, and you're going to see the same on Sunday afternoon. Jordan's mobility took pressure off of that offensive line. They settled in up front, and they had their best game of the season. They're improving week to week at an astounding rate, and we identified that trend last week. They went head-to-head with a Birmingham front that had 15 sacks in the prior 2 games, didn't give up a single sack on Saturday night. That doesn't sound ideal for a St. Louis defense that could be missing up to 5 starters with injuries this week. So that front 7 it has some problems on the injury report. The DC receivers are improving as well. If we had a Player of the Week award, it would go to that guy, Kelvin Harmon. 5 catches, and felt like all of them outdid each other as far as big moments. He had 93 yards and a score, and he blocks a punt. I think the St. Louis defense, hats off to them. They looked great on Saturday, and they only allowed 127 yards of offense from Memphis, which is unbelievable. But may I remind you, Battlehawk fans, who you played. You played Memphis. And remember what Birmingham did to that same Memphis team. They smoked them, and then they came out and they struggled with DC's offense. Same thing's going to happen here. I expect that trend to continue. And listen, DC absolutely going to need more of that out of that run game. That backfield, it's going to have to come eventually. St. Louis is very strong against the pass. They're tops in the league in that category. But they haven't been so hot against the run. They've given up 7 rushing touchdowns. That's the worst in the league. But I wouldn't go getting flashbacks to Abram Smith quite yet. He had, 230 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Dome last year. Defenders are going to still try to have to find their footing in the run game. I thought Zaquandre White was a guy who showed some serious burst, came in after Cam Harris fumbled on that opening drive. I wouldn't be surprised to see White actually get the majority of carries in this one. Seems like they're going with the hot hand, and with injuries across that St. Louis defensive line and DC's front kind of hitting their stride, they're giving Jordan time to find these weapons like Chris Rowland and Vincent Smith, and I do give a slight edge to the Fred Keiss DC offense. I think that we saw a product last week against Birmingham that was capable of making a big play, and they showed explosiveness, and I think they can do the same. There's a reason this total is 46.5. Here's where the Defenders face their biggest challenge of the season: the St. Louis Battlehawk offense. Stats aside, this is without a shadow of a doubt the best offense in the UFL, and I'd go even farther than that. This might be the best offense in spring football history. Better than P.J. Walker's 2020 Houston Roughnecks even. They were one step away from really establishing themselves as that early on, and it was just the run game. And now they figured that out. Jacob Sailors is the best running back in the league right now. I mean, it's the best offensive line in the UFL. They gave up 0 sacks on 45 dropbacks. They sprung Sailors for 6.3 yards a carry. AJ looking as efficient as ever, constantly raising the bar for himself. And it's not about throwing for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns for AJ. It's just about finding open receivers and winning games. They want to win a championship, and they do have some bad news, though. their top two receivers, Darius Shepard and Hakeem Butler, both have not practiced yet this week. Shepard with a hamstring, Butler with a knee. Those two alone account for 40% of A.J. McCarron's targets. Keep an eye on that. That's almost 40%, actually over 40% of their production in the pass game. So it's a lot riding on whether those two play. And I'll get a rebuttal from you Battlehawk fans. You'll say, who cares? We got Peasy. We got Marcel Aitman. I get that. And this is the deepest wide receiver core in the league, but no Shepard is going to mean Peasy has to take on a full workload from the slot. I don't know if he's ready to do that coming back off injury yet. And as I talked about with Mike Ryan, he's 0-3 against DC in his spring football career. So he hasn't seen his brightest days in Audi Field. They did go re-sign Steven Mitchell, a receiver that they cut in camp. So we'll keep an eye on Shepard and Butler. Ultimately, I think AJ's going to be okay behind that offensive line. He's going to throw to whoever's open. And the defensive formula is pretty simple here for DC. It's aggression. And the DC defense played their best game by far of the season last week. And they did it against the number one total offense on paper. So I don't know what more you want. Sure, they could have had some key stops there on the last drive and not allow them to get in the field goal range. But, they're going to have to get to the quarterback. He's going to throw it 50 times. He's going to sling it around Audi Field. And a few of those are going to be interceptable, as they were last season, as one was against Memphis when they took advantage of it last week. So you got to make the plays when they come to you. Got to find ways to limit Sailors. If DC can hold the Battlehawks to under 100 yards rushing and get, 2 or 3 takeaways, I don't care if AJ passes for 300 yards. That's okay. I don't think the Battlehawks are going to score 30 in this game like they have been. And DC has the offense to match up with a banged-up Battlehawks D. You sprinkle in a little bit of that Audi Field magic, which is obviously worth a couple of points. And you're going to get a season-altering DC Defenders victory in this game. This really does feel like do or die, Zook, for the Defenders. And it's the difference between being tied up with St. Louis at the halfway point here or being a full 2 games back. So I think that's going to reflect in DC's effort on Sunday. Who you got?
You know who I got.
Boo.
Number one,
Throw lemons.
I'm rocking my gift.
He actually took all the lemons out of, oh yeah, there it is. Maybe that was the unnamed friend. He took all the lemons out of his fridge. I would have chucked some at him. You guys know what's coming. It's this propaganda against DC. You got lucky last week to be right about Birmingham. They didn't cover.
It's not propaganda.
Yeah, here we go.
You got St. Louis offense, best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, how'd they look last year against DC?
Calm down. St. Louis offense, best running back in the league. St. Louis offense, best wide receiver in the league. Come get it.
And
Let's go.
They all malfunction inside those walls.
Well,
as you witness your Sea Dragons do.
Well, again, you guys got to throw lemons and change the course.
Drink some beers.
Try to change the momentum of the game or whatever, and
fight some people.
Did we say this this last week? So I expect the only way DC has a chance is if they have a comeback victory. So in the last, was it 2 years? So last year XFL and this year so far, they have 12 W's, and what was the stat? 8 or 9 of them were comeback wins.